Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope you're all doing fine. Welcoming you all to yet another video lesson of O3 accounting. Well, as we all know that we started the topic bad debts and provision for doubtful debts. The first part of the topic, that is bad debts, was covered comprehensively in our previous lesson. We then had a break of few days due to the heavy rainfall going on in the city. Well, as far as the other part of the topic is concerned, that part is completely relevant to the treatment of provision for doubtful debts. Now, we need to understand few basic things before we move on towards the main course of this topic. Well, the first thing over here is that we all know what are bad debts. It was covered very in depth and comprehensively in the previous lesson, that all those customers who would not be paying us back for their debts are basically our bad debts. So bad debts are basically your customers, and the existence or the occurrence of the bad debts is basically the transformation of our current assets into our expenses, because bad debts is an expense. Its occurrence, it is an expense. Now, one thing over here relevant to bad debts is, we might have studied it earlier as well, partial bad debts. What are partial bad debts? You know, sometimes there are situations that where, let's say, there is a party who paid us who had to pay us $1,000. Let's say it was Mr. Asim. Mr. Asim had to pay us $1,000. What happened that due to a particular situation, he sent us a check of $600 and he flew away from the country. Now, in such a scenario, what double entry would we pass? What if Asim paid no money? What if Asim paid no money? The entry that was going to be passed was bad debts account debit with 1,000 to Asim's account credit with 1,000. Over here, Asim has basically paid us $600. He hasn't paid the full amount, but he has paid $600. Then, okay, we'll debit our bank account 600. We will debit the bad debts account with 400, the remaining account, and again, Asim would be credited 1,000. This is basically the double entry of a partial bad debt. What is a partial bad debt? Partial bad debt is a situation where the customer does not pay the full amount of the debt. The customer pays a small or some part of the amount, and the rest of the amount is then basically written off as an irrecoverable debt. This is what we mean by a partial bad debt. I hope it is clear to everyone. It is a situation where the customer pays some part of the amount and the rest is written off as an irrecoverable debt. Okay. Coming up towards the main concept of this topic, the main technicality that we might have to deal with is, well, you know what happens that whenever some bad debts occur in a business, they are deducted from the receivables, because obviously once a customer which was a part of the receivables has been identified as bad debts, it won't be left anymore a part of trade receivables. So what happens is that whenever we pass the double entry of bad debts, we are left with a figure which is known as net receivables. Let's say, for example, we had trade receivables of 26,000. The bad debts, let's say they were 1,000, and now the net receivables that we are left with are 25,000. Okay. Now, we are not sure that out of these 25,000 in the upcoming year, will there be any person present in our trade receivables who's going to pay us full amount or who's not going to pay us full amount? We doubt. We are in a doubt. Why so? Because we never knew that this customer is going to turn a bad debt. Now, whenever we have a doubt in our mind, that means this remaining figure of your receivables is doubtful. The remaining figure of this receivable is doubtful. Now, in such a scenario, what happens that we have to remember that concept in our mind, prudence. Okay? And how does prudence apply over here? Prudence says, do not overstate your assets. Do not understate your liabilities. That means wherever we see that our assets are being tend to reduce, we should reduce them. If we see net receivables are basically our asset. And what if we see that yes, there might be a chance that there are some people who might not pay us in the coming time? That means this is doubtful, and if we do not reduce this amount, that means we are overriding this principle. We are overstating our assets. Do not understate liabilities. Now, what if we see that in the coming time there might be a bad debt? Might be a bad debt means that there might occur some people might turn out not paying us back the money. That means we must create a liability for it. We must create a liability for it so that we can record and treat in advance any liability that we see in the coming time. And in the same way, we won't be able to overstate our assets as well. So for this purpose, what do? We create a provision on remaining receivables. We create a provision for the remaining receivables. What are the remaining receivables? This figure, the net receivables. Net receivables, the receivables out of which the bad debts have been already deducted. Now, whenever we create a provision on remaining receivables, we need to first understand what is basically a provision. Okay? Let me just write down a very small definition about the provision. We'll then interpret it. It is a liability of uncertain timing and amount calculated as a percentage on remaining receivables for the year. Okay. First of all, we've got to remember that what is provision? Provision is a liability of uncertain timing and amount calculated as a percentage on remaining receivables for the year. Okay, we can better understand this thing if we practically implement it in an example. The example said that we had $25,000 as our remaining receivables. Now, how do we basically create a provision over it? Let's say, for example, in a question, the things that you might encounter are, they might say, a provision would be created at 1% of remaining receivables. What do we mean by it? It actually means that we doubt that out of our total net receivables, 1% people won't be paying us back our debts. हमें लगता है कि ये जो 25,000 रह गए, इसमें से जो 1% लोग हैं वो हमें पे नहीं करेंगे. That means we are creating a provision for doubtful debts. Doubt, क्योंकि अभी हमें डाउट है, ये श्योर नहीं है, ये डाउट है. और प्रूडेंस कॉन्सेप्ट कहते हैं दैट वेयर एवर यू सी दैट यू हैव अ डाउट कि कोई लाइबिलिटी क्रिएट हो सकती है, यू मस्ट एम टू क्रिएट इट. Wherever you see that your assets can be reduced, you must reduce them. So what we are doing, we are actually reducing the assets over here. We say that 1% of the remaining receivables are doubtful. The 1% of 25,000, if applied, is $250. That means for this particular year, you have a provision for doubtful debts of $250. That means, again, in the coming time, you see that might be a situation where customers worth $250 won't pay us back. So we have already created a liability or an expense for it. Now, the bigger thing is it's double entry. What is the normal or the passive double entry for the provision for doubtful debts? This figure 250 that we have calculated, it is basically reduction in our assets. This 250 will be further reduced from our net receivables. That means it is an expense for us. It is an expense for us. And expenses are always debit. And where are they debited? They are debited in the income statement straight away. So the income statement would be debited by 250, and a liability which would be named after the provision for doubtful debt would be created with 250. This is your basic double entry that is used to record any normal occurrence of a provision. We need to first understand, because it has many adjustments that are relevant and necessary to be performed along with the questions as well. But what do we first need to understand is that provision is always created on the net receivables. After it is created on the net receivables, that figure is then posted as an expense to the income statement, and a provision for doubtful debts liability account is created, which reduces the assets directly from your statement of financial position named as trade receivables under the heading of current assets, right? So class, this was a basic background about the relevance of provision for doubtful debts. Provision for doubtful debts are basically learned and calculated in three different formats. There are basically three situations, three circumstances where you need to calculate provision for doubtful debts, and the relevance of those three different situations would be studied now in the upcoming lessons on Wednesday and on Thursday, inshallah. Well, till yet, if you have any queries or questions related to this topic, you can please get back to me in a couple of minutes. Thank you very much.